Real life things I have said to my clients this week. You're not frigid, you're fried. Because of your super traits, you've centered your entire relationship around him, and of course, you're shut down. You are not an impossible to please, crusty wife. You're playing a game you were never taught the rules to. You're being held to the standard of these invisible contracts that you never knew you signed. Your body knows something that you haven't had the language for. And this is why women have higher rates of depression, higher rates of autoimmune disease. We have been trained not to see these things. We are wired to fix. We sense disconnection, and instead of asking, is this relationship safe? Am I being met? Am I being touched the way I like? We ask, what's wrong with me? What actions do I need to take to fix this? So we start working on relationships, working on desire, working on ourselves, and we're never addressing the real problem. We're scheduling sex. We're trying to be more spontaneous, going to therapy, usually alone, right? Because it's our problem to fix, not our partner's. Being more feminine. And when I started teaching about the feminine and feminine power, I learned it from the lens of Chinese medicine, yin and yang, and how feminine and masculine energies need balance. But it requires equal respect, mutual effort for repair, mutual effort for connection. And when things are out of balance, that's when disease occurs. That's the whole point of the Chinese medicine framework. And what I see happening to women with super traits is we're kind of gaslit, right? Be more feminine, surrender more, trust more. When the relationship system that we are functioning in isn't actually safe or set up to do so. Desire isn't a chore chart. It isn't working harder. Connection isn't overfunctioning, overthinking, questioning yourself. But our relationships, our desire is a reflection of how safe and seen we feel. And when your partner's behavior keeps eroding that safety, your body shuts the whole system down. Okay, and today we're going to talk about the 4 hidden ways men's behavior destroy intimacy, and they will most definitely, or because you have super traits, like you will most definitely be being blamed for these things. Or maybe you don't even see that they're happening. Before you run and share this episode with your man, I want you to pause, sit with the discomfort a little bit, and ask yourself, what outcome am I hoping for? Be honest, because it's me and you here. Are you sharing this because you want him to finally get it? Because you need someone, anyone, to validate how you've been feeling all along? I see this all the time. Women with super traits sending my episodes to their partners, and not the ones that I do for the men. The ones that you feel the most seen and validated. You send them hoping that he's finally going to understand what you've been saying for years. Because when you say them, they get dismissed, they get minimized, they get turned back on you, right? Maybe you've tried to bring things up 100 times in different ways. You've tried crying, you've tried writing letters, you've tried withdrawing. But at the end of the day, you're told you're too sensitive, you're too much. And now you're listening to me finally feeling seen. And that's intimacy, babe. So, of course, you want to share this feeling. But this is the thing. If you need me to validate your truth before he can hear it, how much power do you actually have in your relationship right now? How much Do your feelings and needs actually matter? And trust me, if you need me to be your words, you need me to be your whip, I I will do it. We ride at dawn. I am here for you and your pleasure and your reclaiming of the parts of yourself, the healing of your super traits that makes this part of your life so hard to get. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness. Women with super traits are experts at erasing ourselves and functioning for everyone else, high functioning for everyone else. We've learned to put men's comfort above our clarity, above our desire. We built them pedestals out of our empathy. And it's okay. I've done it too. And until we can name it, we can't actually change anything. It's why you're caught in the same perpetual loops. So before you send him this, breathe. Sit with this. Let you be the one who feels it first. Let you be the one who knows this truth in her bones. And then I want you to decide, do I want him to understand me, or do I want to finally understand myself? And let me tell you something, if you cannot tolerate the uncomfortableness of staying quiet, not over explaining, not sending him the post because it hurts so bad and the grief that you are feeling is so bad, that learning to tolerate that sensation, that is our work to do. So if your life looks great from the outside, but inside you feel unseen, unheard, undertouched, you are not alone. And if you have super traits, you are not the problem. I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins, author, coercive control clinician, creator of the pleasure-centered method. I help high-achieving women with super traits finally understand why love, intimacy, and desire have never felt the way they were promised. If you are exhausted from being the responsible one, the peacekeeper, the emotional regulator, the one who gets shit done, this podcast will feel like truth you've lived but never had language for. Here, we decode your super traits. We name the invisible dynamics that have been draining you and making you feel crazy. And we help your body remember or learn for the very first time what connection is supposed to feel like. Because you don't need better communication. You don't need to work harder at love. You need a new relational blueprint. One rooted in pleasure, power, and nervous system safety. So my superwomen, do you know your super traits? If not, hit pause, head to the show notes, and take the super trait quiz. It will take you 3 minutes, and it will completely change your understanding of every relationship you have been in. So if you are a woman who feels everything, carries everything, is tired of being the emotional anchor for everyone but herself, or the woman who craves peace and connection, but keeps losing herself in intimate relationship, the pleasure-centered method is the path that we are walking together to return to truth, safety, erotic aliveness, and relationships where you can finally be fully met. Welcome to the Pleasure Principles podcast. All right, let's talk about the 4 invisible behaviors that if you are a woman with super traits, your husband is probably most likely doing. Let's name them. First, emotional. He is there, but he is not with you. He listens, but he doesn't hear you. He offers logic instead of empathy and connection. He's trying to fix. Every time you open up, you feel dismissed. You feel confused. Your body learns it's not safe to feel. Desire can't live here. We blame ourselves. We think, oh, I pick emotionally unavailable men, or maybe my needs are too much. Maybe I'm asking for too much. He's been really busy with XYZ, or he's neurodivergent, so he can't change. Meanwhile, I have neurodivergent female clients all the time that learn these things. Now, and most of you have so much internalized misogyny that when I call out men, you think I'm a man hater. And if it was explained to me is that if we are calling out power dynamics, if we are calling out abuse, so it's like if somebody's standing there with a boot on your neck, which this is what, if you have not learned this playbook, these tactics, if you have not learned about your super traits, you have a boot on your neck, or it feels like being exhausted, empty, confused, you don't trust yourself, and you think you're the problem. Okay. But if I'm pointing out the boot on the neck and talking about the boot on the neck, does that make me a man hater, or does that just mean I'm calling out the fact that there's a boot on my neck and I'm trapped? So by naming these things or giving language to these things, to then turn around and say that I hate men or it's misandry, which misandry and misogyny are not the same fucking thing. And I erase people from my life that think they are, that think it is. Okay, so to talk about the games that are being played to extract from women, to make women with super traits overfunction and feel like everything that is always their fault, to call out the dynamics, like it only upsets the people who are affected by it, that these dynamics are benefited by most. And it is the men running this game on you that when you call it out and learn it, and then they get a little pissy, it's time for them to look in the mirror. And I do have compassion for men, okay? Emotional unavailability, this was not a skill that men were required to have in our society. The patriarchy has damaged men as well as the damage that it has done to women. So they thought that going to work and bringing home a paycheck was all that was required for them being in a relationship. And now that women can work and we don't need men for a paycheck, we are requiring more. We are wanting connection. And this is a skill that they have not been taught to have. And in fact, we kind of condition it out of patriarchy, conditions it out of them. Like, don't cry. The only feeling men are supposed to show is like anger. Anyways, this is not about the podcast about men. Go elsewhere if we want to talk about that. This is about us, women with super traits. But I do have empathy for their situation, and they need to do better, or at least not blame us for it. Okay? So if your husband is emotionally available, if you feel dismissed, minimized, you feel confused when you're hurt about something and you bring it to his attention, and then like after you're apologizing for shit that you did years ago. Anyways, if you are blaming yourself for his emotional unavailability, this is a erotic connection, intimacy nightmare. The second invisible behavior that men do that destroys intimacy in a relationship is weaponized incompetence. This is the just tell me what to do. This is the if you ask, I'll help. So he acts like he doesn't know how to help. He forgets things like the groceries, the kids, the parent-teacher meetings, your birthday dinner reservation. He does part but not all of tasks. So he books the vacation but books a wrong flight. These are actually like real life examples of my clients. He gets to be the fun dad, the easygoing one, while you do the emotional, logistical, and erotic labor. You repair for two, for the whole family. You even intervene. Like if you have kids together, you are even doing emotional management between him and his children. And to detach from that is a skill that I have to teach. So our nervous system, our bodies, like our heart, our pussies are saying, I already have children. I don't want to have sex with one. I don't need another. So when we have responsibility as a super trait, we constantly think that it's our job, that we should do better. We try harder. We hire people to do jobs that he could do. And hard work is another super trait that really shows up here in your partners. So if you have responsibility as a super trait, hard work is a super trait, this weaponized incompetence game is probably being run on you. Okay. And your hard work tells you to fix things through more effort instead of honesty and having him meet you. Okay. Because that part feels scarier. It feels easier to do it yourself. This is what I teach in detail, the rules of the game. So in the pleasure-centered society we practice, we train in real time. Each woman to use her power and pleasure in moments where we would collapse. Life and community is our laboratory where you're not going to keep repeating the same dynamic, where you feel the need to share a podcast, and because that is how deeply ingrained the dynamic is. We train together in life, and our community is our laboratory. This is a mini mastermind where we are participating. We're not passively learning. There are quarterly, full day workshops. We are getting workbooks. We are practicing these techniques, these situations. There are in person immersive retreats, training calls twice a month, biweekly power and pleasure practice drops. Because understanding is one thing, but being able to take action is our goal. I'm going to teach you how to have pleasure and power as your leadership strategy in bed, in business, in every relationship. And this is for women that want nervous system safety, to stop overthinking, to stop over explaining, to have clarity, relief, to have power that you can finally use in real life, in the moments when it matters, in sex, in fights, in the boardroom, in times when our super traits, those survival strategies would normally click in. We train to have the option to choose differently. It's for the woman that wants emotional clarity, for the woman that wants presence that commands a room in your own unique style, okay? Because this is not performative. For you to feel like the woman you were before the collapse, before the extraction. For women who do not want to feel crazy, needy, overreactive. Okay, and this is your super traits, and this is you not understanding the game, babe. There's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't been given the right framework. You need language for invisible dynamics. Trust in yourself again. Like, what's yours? What's theirs? What can you shift? What's never going to change? So you can make decisions with clarity. And you can get your aliveness back because you stop wasting time and energy on shit that was never yours to fix in the first place. If this calls to you, if this speaks to you, let's get on a call. Head to the show notes. The Pleasure Centered Society starts at $5.95 a month. Let's get on the call and determine the level of support that you need to get you the results that you want. The third invisible behavior that I see partners of women with super traits doing is a male-centered focus. Like literally every hetero super trait relationship that I have seen, unless you are with a feminist man. But if you have super traits, like I have not seen it in the last 7 years. All right. And sometimes like He's a good guy. He's a good dad. But the relationship revolves around his moods, his stress, his comfort. You, with your super traits, filter everything through. Will this upset him? Will he withdraw? Will he drink, use, go like abandon, go golf, video game, etc., get high? So you stop asking and expecting more and you start shrinking. And that shrinkage shows up in the bedroom. I said shrinkage on purpose. Okay, we are supposed to be the emotional ones, but in a super trait relationship, my clients have less emotion than their male partners on the day to day. And then they shove it down, shove it down, shove it down, detach from themselves, focus on their partner, thinking that if I give enough, if I say it in the right way, if I wait for the right time, like my needs will finally be met. But that day never comes. So your high empathy keeps you scanning for his pain instead of understanding your own. So, examples of this, I had a client went to her husband with an ask, and it was about the family, something that was stressing her out with their family dynamic. And he was upset that she was talking about this piece on her time with me, her call with me, because he wanted more sex. But it's like, if she is stressed the fuck out with anything going on with the family, she's not going to want to have sex. And then he made it about him instead of like, so she made an ask, a bid for connection. And instead of him supporting her and making her feel seen, he made it about him and his wants. And why should she be spending her time coaching with me, talking about that family stuff and not about sex? And this is just like, this is why women with super traits, if they go to couples therapy, and the couples therapist is not trained in coercive control or doesn't have extensive domestic violence training or have lived it herself, therapy, the framework that is used, it has empathy. Like it is inherently male centered. We learn from male psychologists and psychiatrists. And this, when things are centered around him and his moods, and even when you go to share yours and you are not, don't have trust that you will be seen and heard and your needs met, forget it. It erodes relationships. And relationships are inherently male focused. That is why relationships are extractive for women. The marriage benefit imbalance, like this is an actual thing. So the way that we think relationships are supposed to be, especially if we have super traits, is inherently male centered, male focused. And I'll ask you, like the TV shows that you watch, just as an example, like how many hours are spent with games on? Is there an equal amount of time with Hallmark movies and the shitty reality TV that you want to watch? Or do you hear grumbling and complaints, right? It's not like he's as excited to watch something for you as you are expected to be for him. Okay, male centered. What temperature is your household? The recommendations for thermostat, like again, male, they're for men. Women need it warmer. Who who's fighting about the temperature? And I could go on and give you 50 examples of just how inherently male-centered relationships are. And this is why I teach women to have pleasure-centered relationships that is mutually beneficial for both people. And sometimes he kicks and screams a little bit, right? Because if something's centered around him and he has to put in more effort, more labor, then he might not be too happy about it. But if he cares for you and the relationship, When you heal the super trait wounds and you are in your power, you've practiced playing these games, the dynamics in your relationship can shift enormously. Or it will be very clear to you that I need to get the fuck out safely because this is not changing. And the only way that he wants to engage is if I'm over functioning and over giving and he's under functioning and receiving. The fourth invisible pattern is emotional withholding or punishment. Okay, and we're taught not to see it this way, right? We are taught that we are the emotional ones, when in fact, partners of women with super traits are generally far more emotional. Again, why couples therapy doesn't work. Because going in, it is assumed that he is the less emotional one and you are the one with too high of needs and you just need to settle down or expect less or ask in a different way because he's working on it. So number 4, emotional withholding, punishment, emotional manipulation. So when you ask for connection or you have emotional needs, he retreats. You raise a need, he gets defensive. He gets scary. You say you're hurt, he goes cold. Give you another example. A client shared my podcast with her husband and it undressed him. It called out the exact issue that they were having. And he completely, he retreated from the situation. And he did it with a Darvo technique. So she shared this episode in hopes of being seen, in hopes of being validated. And it's like, see, this is why I don't want to have sex. Because I think it was the tone policing episode. Or this is a part of the reason I don't want to have sex. And his comment was to attack me. Okay. He had personal attacks for me. He said, like, oh, she's only on here to be selling. Yes, sir. I am selling. Do you work for free? Would you use that as a defense if I had a dick? If I was a man selling on my podcast? But anyways, this was Darvo 101, where she came with a need. She wanted to be validated and seen and change something in their dynamic where she felt minimized and blamed. And he did not address her emotional need whatsoever. He got defensive and he made it about me. So he denied the need, the ask, and he reversed it. Okay. Like when you see this shit and the fact that we are not taught to see it, when you finally do, it's like, oh my God, what have I been wasting time and money and tears on for all these years? So you raise an emotional need, it ends in a fight, you're blamed. It becomes the time that he withdraws and escapes. Okay, the pleasure-centered society, ladies, practice with me. Make these dynamics a thing of the past. We don't need his buy-in. You don't need to leave to start healing. Okay, and I even have clients that their partners emotionally withhold unless they are having sex at the frequency that he wants. Okay, they're using sex as punishment or sex as a form of connection. And then this woman sometimes thinks that she has the higher drive because the only time she feels close and connected to him is when they're having sex. But really, this is a tactic. This is a coercive control tactic. And our bodies are smart. They keep score. They will not fully open to the same person that it has to protect itself from. Okay, it is not you. But if you have super traits, your loyalty keeps you trying, keeps you in it, keeps you trying to earn what should be freely given and what you are willing to freely give. You have options. Okay, if you want to buy the lingerie that you never wear, if you want to keep saving posts on Instagram that are not working, if you want to try to be sexy in a performative way in a dynamic that's fundamentally unsafe, be my guest. There is lots of stuff out there. Okay, but what you are going to do about this is you are going to book a call with me to make sure the pleasure-centered society is a fit for you. Okay, we're gonna go to work. This is not passive. We are getting our reps in. Okay, so desire returns, our energy returns, our clarity returns when you stop letting your super traits lead, when we stop managing, fixing, filtering, and when our nervous system finally learns what safety feels like and learns that we don't have to work for love. Because the reason we have super traits is the reason we have so much success. It is also the reason that we have to take a hard look in the mirror and think, I really don't know what it's like to actually have true intimacy. Because I have hard worked, tolerated, forgiven my way through every relationship I've ever had. Pleasure grows in environments of safety, reciprocity, respect. That's what I call a pleasure-centered relationship, where both people are responsible for connection, repair, eroticism. And until you are willing to learn a new way, which is going to feel very emotionally uncomfortable, then the same patterns are going to keep repeating. Pleasure without power is performance. Power without pleasure is control. And I will teach you how to have both so everyone wins.